Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for attending today's session. This is Duet AI for Google Workspace, generative AI tools to transform work for the better. It's obviously an incredibly exciting time as it relates to all things generative AI. So we're really excited to talk about how Duet AI is enabled across the Workspace platform. Uh, I am Tony Majewski. I am a strategy and solutions lead for Google Workspace North America, based up in New York. And I will let our other presenters introduce themselves. I'll hand it over to Donato next. Donato?
Thank you, Tony. Hi, everybody. I'm Donato Meli. I'm a solution engineer with Workspace. I'm very excited to be here today. Now I pass the ball to Nathan.
Hey, everybody. It's great to meet you all. I'm the co-founder and CTO of a nonprofit called codepath.org. I'm based in San Francisco, and great to be here with you all.
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today. Really excited about what we are going to cover. And getting to that specifically, we're going to intro Duet AI for Google Workspace. Hopefully, you've seen it in the news. Hopefully, you've been trialing it. Potentially, you're already using it within your organization or across your organization. If you haven't, we're going to dive in that today. We're going to talk about some use cases. We're going to talk about security. That's obviously front and center with all things generative AI these days. And then Donato is going to run us through a demo scenario, get into multiple use cases across the platform, even across devices, which is very exciting. And then we're going to have our customer conversation with Nathan, and then we'll get into a summary of best practices, really how to think about Duet AI if you're looking to start to engage in a trial or look at rolling it out across the organization. Talk about some frameworks that have been really successful when working with customers throughout evaluations and go lives and activations and things like that. And then we will close with Q&A as well. So let's go ahead and get right into it. This isn't necessarily 100% related to Duet AI, but I think it's really worth calling out because it kind of sets the table in terms of, our ability to execute on technology like this. It was really exciting to launch this technology at Google Next earlier this year in September. I can't believe that it's already been that long, but we were able to highlight a couple really exciting numbers, right? 3 billion active users in the platform across the globe. That number is incredible in terms of volume, in terms of scale, in terms of the different demographics of people that are accessing the platform on a daily basis, the different devices that they're accessing the platform on, and obviously keeping all of those people secure, keeping them productive, keeping them connected. And then we also announced that we're up to 10 million paying customers, right? So we've seen continued growth and momentum of people choosing Workspace as the platform to be productive, to collaborate, to communicate with each other, and now, innovate more and more, right? How do we hold ourselves accountable to a really high pace of innovation? When you look at the pace that we roll features out, I think that speaks for itself. And then obviously with generative AI and Duet AI, we're taking that next step. I think one of the more interesting conversations that I've had, the pleasure of having with a lot of our customers over the last 9-10 months on this topic is really, being able to talk about Google's AI story, because it definitely didn't start September 1st when we launched Duet AI. It didn't start before that when we had trusted testers for Duet AI. It didn't start even, shortly before that. We've been an AI first company for a very long time, right? The better part of the last decade. And you look at what we've done over the years as it relates to things like Google DeepMind and the AlphaGo, defeating the Go champion. When you look at writing the Transformer paper, the T in GPT in 2017, right? We've been foundational in terms of a lot of the really big startups and small startups, disruptive startups, as it relates to all things generative AI. A lot of it is based off of Google's commitment to open source and what we've done with AI for a very long time, right? We're an organization that has had large language models deployed in enterprise technology for years before kind of the rush of generative AI earlier this year, right? When you look at things like CCAI, when you look at things like Document AI and Discovery AI, large language models have played a very big role in that technology, and they've been available and deployed in enterprise environments way before earlier this year in 2023, right? So when we think about AI, when we think about first-party innovation, when you think about scale, when you think about purpose-built, the scale of the infrastructure all the way down to, the TPUs that are driving this type of technology, Google has been front and center in that area for a very long time, right? And so when you think about trust of that first party innovation, that's something that comes to mind for me. Obviously, security plays a big role in that, and then responsible AI. With years and years of first party innovation comes learnings. It comes having a really strong framework on what does responsible AI look like, what does secure AI look like, what does secure technology look like. Again, that's a really foundational thing, and we've got years and years of experience on those topics. And then when it comes to AI specifically within Workspace, AI has been driving feature sets across the platform for a long time, under things like security, under things like accelerating productivity with things like Smart Compose, formula suggestions, the way that we connect with each other, things like noise cancellation and portrait restore were incredibly important when we were all working remote during COVID, right? And now as we get to flexible working models, it's even more important as well, right? The trend that we saw here is everything was very assistive, right? Assistive AI, powering the way that we collaborate, the way that we connect with each other, the way that we create high impact projects, the way that we continue to innovate, reducing frustrations and different friction points around the workplace and with our technology. AI has been very assistive in helping with that, right? And also making sure that these things are available across different devices. That's the power of being a browser first collaborative platform, right? And so when we look at being able to take this next step, we've got, the better part of a decade's worth of experience leveraging assistive AI in the platform. And so as we take this next step into how do we go from assistive AI to collaborative AI, right? How does that AI mechanism become a co-writer, a co-producer, a co-thinker, a co-collaborator, right? So this is something that we've always accelerated at as it relates to, let's call it human to human, team to team, organization to organization, organization to partner and customer collaboration. It's something that we've been best in class at for a long time. So now we get to take that next step when it comes to generative AI with Duet AI and Google Workspace. Having that next step, that next iteration of being able to collaborate with that AI counterpart. And it is very much a game changer as someone that's been immersed in this technology over the last few months and using it on a daily basis, right? Being able to have someone that you're able to work with, in helping you accelerate the mundane, right? How do you go from 0 to 60 to 70 to 80% based off of a well-structured prompt? And now you can focus your time and your energy and your critical thinking and your creativity on that refinement, on that last mile, on up-leveling that content, right? And that becomes really, really exciting. So helping us write, helping us generate content, helping us refine content, continuing to up-level the way that we connect with each other through audio quality, video quality, rapidly expanding the amount of languages that we support for translation, creating structured content in sheets. If you've ever uttered the phrase, here's what I'm picturing, being able to visualize, turn that thought or that written statement into something extremely tangible, like an image and slides, becomes very valuable, right? And so when we look at what launched earlier this year in September, what people were taking advantage of as a part of our Trusted Tester program, and now that's available to you as generally available platforms, we got Helping You Write across Gmail, so generating and responding communications, refining communications, available on the web as well as mobile. We'll see an example of that, which is really exciting. Helping you write in docs, again, getting rid of that writer's block, helping you, focus on the storytelling rather than the formatting, being able to refine content, helping you elaborate, or in my case, as someone that tends to be a little bit long-winded, both in voice and in text, summarizing things, right? Here's a 5-page paper on some topic. Summarize this into 5 concise bullet points, right? Turn that into an email draft using a building block. Being able to take advantage of the best of what Workspace already does and incorporating that into Duet AI outputs. So that's very exciting. Continuing to enhance the proofreading capabilities within docs, helping you visualize within slides, as mentioned. So looking for that perfect image, trying to give multiple examples that you might be giving to a creative counterpart. We're doing a photo shoot. Here's the 5 different things that I'm thinking for that photo shoot. We're doing some digital design. Here's what I'm thinking for this concept, for a new product or an ad campaign, right? Being able to significantly reduce the amount of revision cycles that we might have in that regard. And then helping you organize within Sheets, build me a social media tracker across these platforms with a budget, with an owner, with example hashtags, with a status dropdown, and then automatically having that structured spreadsheet in a matter of seconds. And again, continuing to up-level the way that we connect with each other. Studio quality look and sound within Meet, live translated captions, so continuing to expand the amount of languages that we support, and then generating backgrounds in Meet as well, so you can completely dial in what that meeting experience needs to look like. As mentioned, we are generally available. We've been generally available for a couple months now. Again, incredibly exciting. So that means that you are able to stand up a workspace trial for Duet AI. So you can go ahead and use this URL, g.co/workspace/duet, right? And so if you're an existing workspace customer, this is a very seamless process, right? And we've got a full team of Googlers, as well as the partner community that can help you throughout this entire process of what these engagements need to look like, best practices. There's a ton of learning materials. We'll cover that as well. But if for whatever reason, you're not a workspace customer already, that is not a problem. We've got you covered there as well. So you or a team within your organization, a specific department, you could start with something like Drive, Docs, Sheets, and Slides, and then leverage Duet AI with that as well. So if you wanted to evaluate what does Workspace look like, what does Generative AI look like within Workspace, we can touch on that as well. So we're generally available with a trial. We also have a promotion running through the end of the year as it relates to Duet AI for Google Workspace Enterprise. So for a limited time, you get a 20% discount with a 1-year subscription of the Duet AI for Google Workspace Enterprise add-on for the first 300 users. And we got something that you can self-serve for this. If you are a customer through a partner, that is something the partner can also help you out with. So the promotion is effective as of October 5th, 2023, and that is going to expire January 15th, 2024. So I've referenced the Trusted Tester program a few different times, and it's really exciting. I think something that kind of shows, again, the idea of scale and being able to support this type of technology, this type of groundbreaking technology, and making it available to people, and more importantly, getting feedback and seeing, where are people seeing the benefits from this? And obviously, we've got a very close relationship with our customers as it relates to also getting feedback on what it should continue to look like, how it should evolve, how is it going to continue to benefit them as the platform continues to push out new capabilities. And so at Google Next, Aparna mentioned that we had over 1 million people in our Trusted Tester program that were giving us feedback prior to launch, right? Thousands of organizations were using this on a daily basis to accelerate the way that they work, to up-level the way that they connect with each other, to really, again, focus on the task at hand, accelerate through the mundane but required to get to those outcomes a lot faster, right? And these users spanned global businesses, large and small. It spanned educational institutions as well as even consumer audiences. So we also, as a part of that process, really wanted to make sure that, we aren't just developing a collection of features, right? This is an innovative new technology, and we also recognize that it is an investment, but it is an investment that is immediately impacting value for organizations, right? And so what we've been really hard at work at in terms of internally at Google, building out things like a Duet learning path and Cloud Skills Boost, building out a Duet section, actually multiple sections within our learning center for Workspace. So you have assets to help you hit the ground running as it relates to, getting the best out of this platform, right? And so we want to be anchored in this idea of how is it going to drive that business value, right? Whether you're in customer operations, whether you're in marketing, whether you're in sales, whether you're in product engineering. And this is a really important way as an organization, if you're thinking about this technology, look at these different lines of business, look at people who are doing high volume content creation, that are collaborating with each other, that are connecting with customers, that are connecting with, third-party creatives, that are trying to drive revenue, that are trying to continue to innovate on the product front. What are those different OKRs that you have as an organization, within the organization? And I would also encourage you to find those OKRs that, revenue increasing, that's one that is going to touch customer operations, marketing, sales, and product and engineering, as well as a few other departments. And then work down, okay, what are those initiatives that lead up to those OKRs that we're driving towards? How are we measuring success independent of technology with our organization? And then what are those daily jobs and tasks that we're doing on a daily basis that we can now distill into prompt examples that accelerate those outcomes, right? That automate different workflows through Duet AI. And so we've put together a lot of content and best practices around things like quick start guides for these various lines of business. So if you're in marketing, here's some prompts to get you started, right? Here's ways to think about putting together well-structured prompts to get a really good result. And then, even best practices around prompt design. So this is something where we're going to continue to develop and evolve net new assets around. It's something that our customer success organization has done an incredible job helping our customers and giving us feedback on building content for scale to assist in these different areas. And of course, our partner community is leaning in a very significant way to make sure that organizations are activating this in the most effective and efficient way possible, and organizations are getting the most value out of it. And most importantly, they're aware of what's coming next as it relates to the evolving roadmap and features that are releasing, right? So before I hand it off to Donato, there's a couple things, well, mainly one thing that I want to talk about, because I think this is probably the hottest topic that typically comes up in every single one of these conversations. It is security. It is data security. It is user security, right? I think foundationally, Workspace is, I think there's people out there that can say it is one of, if not the most secure platform out there as it relates to security, right? I think a lot of you that are customers today, security probably played a role in why you chose Workspace, right? And so we don't want to stray from that. So your data is your data. That is something that we've said with Enterprise Workspace since the beginning, and it's going to continue to be that way, right? Your data stays in Workspace. Your privacy is protected, and none of your content is ever used for ads targeting, right? And this is just going to be blanket statement across Workspace. But specifically, when we think about Duet and generative AI specifically, your data is your data is your data, right? Everything is session specific. We're not maintaining any prompts. We're not generating embeddings, right? All of that, we're not training any models with your data, right? So this is something that allows you to enable this technology really quickly, to be able to get the most out of it with complete confidence around data security and data governance. Anything that you've established already as it relates to your security and governance controls in Workspace with things like data loss prevention, things like access controls, things like trust rules, anything that goes from a draft state in the prompt mechanism with Duet, once it goes into an active state, when you insert it into a document, a slide, a sheet, an email, any of those rules will get put into place immediately, which is fantastic, right? So that being said, I'm going to hand things over to my colleague Donato now to take you through a demonstration of Duet AI live for us to all take a look at. So Donato, all yours.
Thank you, Tony, and hi, everyone. So in this session today, I'm going to show you Duet AI in action. And we'll see a few examples of how Duet AI can help you with automating manual tasks and boost your productivity. And I want to do that in two phases. So at first, I'll show you some examples of how you can use Duet AI based on the current version of Duet that is generally available. And then we have a treat for you. So you're going to see some of the new features that are not yet generally available, but that are coming soon. And we'll see some concrete examples of things that you would be able to do with that very soon. So now imagine the following scenario. So I'm traveling and I realize that I need to write an urgent email to my boss. So let's see how Duet AI can help me with making this task way easier than it is. So now hold with me a second. I'm going to switch to my phone and we can start our journey. So give me a second. Okay, so now I switched to my phone, so you should be able to see the screen on my phone and hear me from my phone right now. So as I was saying, I'm traveling, but I need to write an email to my boss right away because I need to ask for an additional resource, and I cannot wait the end of my work trip because the hiring process will already take time, the approval process will take time, so I need to take it and get this out right away. And since I'm on my phone, it's also tough to write an email from your mobile phone that doesn't seem rushed up without investing too much time. So I'm gonna ask Duet AI to help me with this task directly from a mobile phone. So from here, I can click on the Duet AI button and I can directly dictate what I want Duet to do for me. So I can say, write an email asking my boss to approve to hire an additional front-end developer in my team to be sure we meet the deadline of Q1 for our new registration form. Perfect. So I now submitted the prompt, and I got back a very nice email, very long and articulated, that I can now add into my draft and eventually fine tune it and finalize it. And writing such a nicely written email would have taken me way longer from a mobile phone from this keyboard. So now I got a perfect starting point for the email I want to send to my boss. So now I can send this email, and then I know that tomorrow there is a meeting where I can check with my boss what he thinks and if he can approve the hiring process so we can start right away. But unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make the meeting because I'll be still traveling. So I'll need to find a way to catch up with what was discussed during the meeting to understand if I got the head count or not, and to understand quickly how to move forward. So in order to show you that now, I'm going to switch back to my computer. So if you are patient with me a second, just I'm going to transition back to sharing my screen. Okay, so now you should see back my screen and hear me from my computer. Okay, perfect. So as I was saying, I could not attend the meeting that they had after I sent the email to my boss. So what I can do though is, since they were using Google Meet, I have access to the transcript, so I can understand through the transcript what was discussed and if I got my head count. Now, the problem though is that having a transcript is great, but if the meeting was long, this might not be a huge saving of time because you need to go through everything that was said to find the piece that is interesting for you. But Duet AI can help you with this. So, for example, I can go at the bottom of my transcript and I can ask Duet AI to help me with this and to summarize the meeting. So at this point, without going through the whole transcript, Duet AI is going to give me a nice summary of what was discussed and the attendees and just the action items. So perfect. Like this, I can just in a few minutes have a good understanding of everything that was discussed, who attended the meeting, and I'm trying to get some information about the hiring of the front-end developer. So I see that they talked about that, which is perfect. And I can see here in the action items that Bob has to let me know that Ian authorized the new headcount. Okay, perfect. So probably Bob forgot to let me know then. Fantastic. Now I know that I can go ahead and hire a new front-end developer. But before I do that, I need to prepare the job offer and I need to publish it and be sure to be able to get some good candidates. So in order to do that, I'm gonna get to work immediately to do that. So I'm gonna open a new document and I'm gonna start writing my job offer. Also in this case, Duet AI can help me a lot. So I can use Duet AI to write a good first draft of my job offering. So I can say, create a job offer for a front-end developer with at least 6 years of experience, required practical experience with the main front-end frameworks. There you go. So I could go ahead, add more details, or I can simply stop here and see how the result will look like. And eventually, if I want something different, I can go back and fine tune my prompt to have a more tailored answer. But this should be good for a first run. So there you go. So I'm getting kind of a good first draft. So description, responsibility, qualification. So, and I can do here several things. I can go here and ask to refine my answer, so to summarize it more, to make it more bullet points oriented, or to summarize it, or to elaborate more on that, or eventually ask for some custom activity. But let's say for now it's okay. So I'm gonna add it. And I'm gonna take a look and fine tune it, finalize it. So, for example, when it comes to the responsibilities, I see, for example, that there are things that are very important for me. So, for example, testing the bug front-end code, I think, for example, is very important. So I want to elaborate more on this sort of responsibility. So when I select text, Duet AI also will help me to do additional actions on the selected text. So I can select this and I can say, I want to elaborate that. So I can click on this, and now Duet AI is taking this bullet point and is sort of giving more content, is going to elaborate more on that. When I say test and debug front-end code, so I can here see defining what I mean for it. So now he added a very nice long paragraph about this. And I can decide if I want to replace the code, the text that I selected, if I want to add it right after. Let's add it right after. In a way to keep my previous bullet points, but I want to, for this one, to give more context. So basically, I can iterate on this and select additional text or components and do the same things, ask to elaborate or ask to reduce it. Now, I can also see that Duet AI didn't give me just text back, but also gave me things like variables, so which are some native functionalities from Google Docs. So this is another advantage of using Duet AI, that is embedded in my editor. So I don't get just text, but I get also some advanced features. Perfect. So now let's say I have my job offer for my front-end developer, and let's call it job title, front-end developer. Google proposes me a title. Perfect. I like that. So now I have my job offer ready. The next thing I want to do is to create a blog post about my job offer in order to make more noise about it, to be sure that it has a lot of visibility. And I can ask Duet AI to help me with this. So I can write, create a blog post to advertise the job opening. Perfect. And I don't need to specify which job, because Duet AI has access to the context of the document. So I just write that, and we get a first pass at the potential blog post to advertise this position. So just without specifying everything, Duet is able to fetch the context of the document and give me a relevant blog post. Perfect. So this seems actually a very nice blog post related to the job offer I just created. So I can just go ahead and add it right away into my document here. Perfect. So now that we have seen what we can do today with generative AI and Duet in your account, I'm gonna change my screen, switch to a new screen, and show you what you can do with the new versions of Duet AI, so with the new functionalities that are coming soon. Okay, so in this second part here, we'll see some of the new features that are coming with Duet AI, and specifically, we're going to see the evolution of how Duet AI can be even more and more integrated with your account. So in this case, now, so far we have seen how we can create a job offer, how we can advertise the job offer. Now, let's say what else we can do to reduce our workload and to be more effective. So now I am a job offer, and I need to start interviewing people. Now, I want the interview process to be fair and homogeneous. So I want everybody involved to ask the same sort of questions, so we can have a standardized approach to evaluating our candidates. In order to do that, I want to create a set of questions that are relevant to our job offer, so everybody can ask the same questions. In order to do that, I can ask Duet AI to help me. In the new version, you will have Duet AI still available within your document as you've seen before, but also you're going to have it available as a side panel where you can ask questions and do additional things that we're going to see soon. So I want to ask the following question. Give me 10 questions for an interview with a candidate for the following job opening and tell me why they are important. So I want the AI to give me 10 questions I should ask this candidate. And I also want the explanation why those are important, but not in general. I want these questions to be specific based on one job offer, single job offer we just created. And I can reference to the AI a specific file or specific piece of content using the at symbol. So I can say at, and I can find the job offering we just created, front-end developer. Perfect. So basically now I'm pointing the AI toward a specific document and saying, based on this document, give me 10 questions for my interview with the candidate, but also tell me why they are important. Because when I ask a question, I also want to have, let's say, in the back of my mind, why am I asking a question? What I'm trying to get out of this. Perfect. So we can see that those are the 10 questions that they give me. He gave me with also the explanation of why. So what is your experience with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript? Because this is important because this was one of the requirements we put in our job offer. What are some of the latest front-end framework you have experience with? Perfect, because we want the candidate to have experience with it. So this is definitely a great starting point coming from our own job or job description. And again, this has been done simply by asking the AI to reference a specific document. And you can always double check here when the AI gives you an answer, you will see this very useful thing, which is sources. So you can click in here and you will see which document the AI used to give you an answer. In this case, we referenced the document, so I knew that the AI was going to answer with that specific document in mind, but I could have asked an open question, and the AI would have asked, checked with all the documents I have access to give me a proper answer. And if I feel that the answer is not going the direction I want, I can always check the sources to see which documents the AI used to actually give me this answer, why it's giving me that, which is extremely useful and important. Now, okay, I have my 10 questions. So now I want to so my job offer is out and I start receiving candidates, start receiving CVs. So I'm storing all the CVs that I receive here in my drive. So far I have 2 CVs here. I have a Jenna Jackson and I have a Tom McKee. So okay, I want to start having an idea of the CVs I'm receiving. So what I can do is I can select these 2 CVs, and then I can ask directly from Drive Duet AI to help me out. So I can click on this, and Duet AI right away is gonna give me a sort of summary, a high-level summary of these 2 CVs. Extremely useful. So I can immediately see those are resumes of Jenna Jackson, Tom McKee. Jenna as a front-end developer with 10 years experience, and Tom, full stack developer with 8 years of experience. Perfect. This is already a great summary of these 2 CVs that helps me already do a little bit of a screening, pre-screening and pre-validation. So I can immediately here see if any of these of these profiles are off compared to what I'm expecting, and I can already filter potentially them out. In this case, both are relevant. They both have a great experience. So now I want now to understand a little bit better which of the 2 could be the best fit for my job opening. So what I can do here at this point is I can open a new document and I can ask Duet AI directly to help me. So what I would do in a normal situation is I would open these two CVs, I would create my table, I would put all their information in there, and I would then have a comparison that I can look at. So I want to compare data, so then I can take my decision. But this can be a time-consuming activity. So I can have Duet AI doing all the legwork for me. So I can say here, compare in a table the following two CVs. And I can say here I want Jenna and I want Tom McKee. Perfect. So basically I'm asking Duet AI to do the legworks for me. So to do all the activity required here to compare the two CVs in the table. At this point, the AI is going to give me a table with summary of the two candidates, their experience, their education, and their skills. And this is extremely useful for me to take an informed decision. So all this has been achieved in a few seconds, just asking the AI to go and do activities that I would be doing manually, like collecting information and putting it to creating tables to creating contents. So now, based on the summary here, what I see is that probably Jenna is the best fit for the job offering because there was a front-end developer offer. So she's definitely a better fit, more experience and more focused. But I really like also Tom's profile. So he has anyway 8 years of experience, C++ and Python. So this is a great candidate. I want to actually see if there is any other job offer that opening position that Tom could be good for. So even if I want to give the job to Jenna, I still want to see if we can find a way to have Tom coming on board as well because he seems great. So what I can do is I can go in my folder where I have all the other job openings that are different from this one, and I want to see if there is any job opening that might be a fit for Tom. So what I can do is I can select them all. I can, again, click on Duet AI to enable it. And now Duet AI is gonna give me by default a summary of the job openings. But right now, that's not what it's important for me. What I wanna do is, I could go through the summary and decide, but I want it to be faster. So I can ask, tell me if the following CV is a good fit for any of these job openings. And I can say Tom McKee. So at this point, basically, I'm saying, asking the AI to tell me to do what I would do. So to go through in all of these job openings and see if there is a match. And the AI is telling me, well, Tom McKee is a good fit for the technical project manager job. He has 8 years of experience and C++ and Python, which are two of the programming languages required for the job. Perfect. So this is telling me that based on the CB, Tom is a good fit for that. And it's telling me that Tom doesn't seem a good fit for the marketing specialist and for the professional services job because he does not have the requirements that are listed in these CBs. Again, this is what the AI is giving me is a suggestion based on data. So based on skills required listed in a job and skills declared by Tom in his CV. So the AI is simply doing a match. We require X years of experience with this language. Does the candidate have it? Yes, perfect. So this could be a good fit. And this is already super helpful. So now I know that I could send Tom an email saying, maybe you can be interested in this other position. So all these sort of activities can be automated and performed quickly thanks to Duet AI that is integrated directly into your account and can help you reduce the time to achieve your tasks or whatever you're trying to do. And now, another thing you can do is, for example, I want to create an email for Jenna telling her that she did a good job, so she's going to get the job. And I also want to send her a sort of summary of our onboarding process. So I can say, create a email draft for Jenna saying that she got the job and giving her a bit of information about our onboarding process as described here. And I can point the AI toward our onboarding process. There you go. So the AI can do again something that I would have needed to do. So to take the onboarding process, sort of extract the summary and send it to her. But now this is a nice and starting point for my email to Jenna that also summarizes what are the main points of our onboarding process and what she needs to do to get started. So I hope this was useful to give you an idea of where Duet AI is going and the new things very exciting that are coming very soon. So, and with that said, I'm gonna hand it over to Tony.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Donato. That was an incredible demo covering really a lot of pretty everything that's available today. I'm seeing a lot of great questions fly in throughout the course of that demo with a lot of really good questions on what you showcased in terms of capabilities to help me write across Gmail, across Docs. So really great. And then also getting a sneak peek of what's coming with Side Panel. I think that's an eagerly anticipated feature that every single one of our existing Duet customers and a lot of customers that are looking to start trialing it are really looking forward to. So all that being said, before we transition over to our customer conversation, I kind of want to kind of close the loop on the conversation around Duet AI, what it's capable of doing, where we're seeing value with kind of just a value framework that has been really useful when we're engaging with our customers on this topic. And this is directly tied to feedback that has been given to us from customers based on how they ran their evaluations, how we helped customers run their evaluations, how our customer success helped run evaluations, as well as our partner community. I think the first one, and I think this one was clearly evident during Donato's demo, is the productivity increases. You saw that kind of concept of going from 0 to 60 to 70 to 80% really, really quickly, even with just the generally available features today in terms of productivity acceleration. With that, and I really want to focus on kind of these three middle areas because these ones have been really interesting to me, not only in the context of working with executives in kind of the CIO, CTIO, innovation realm, but also with people that are responsible for people, really, people like CHROs, people ops leads, et cetera. Because in addition to the quantitative benefits that we've seen around productivity, time savings, reallocating your time and energy to the most high value places, we're also seeing areas where, because of the ability to accelerate through kind of the mundane and getting to more of a refined and improved state, we are seeing the quality of work increase, right? And that's been, I think, across pretty much every different department that's had their hands on it because of that specific kind of thought of get to a much deeper state faster and then work on refining and up-leveling. With that, we're also seeing the confidence in work improve, right? We're seeing people get to a collaborative state faster. I am someone that was very, very guilty of not sharing something until I was very comfortable with it, right? That obviously changed when I moved here, and you share right away when it's a blank page, but that has a massive impact on employee engagement. It has a massive impact on employee satisfaction, right? Especially when we're looking at what productivity demand curves are, in the context of being able to deliver value to our partners and our customers, and knowing that resources are finite, right? So how do you address that gap in that curve without burning your people out? And this is something that Duet AI can have a significant impact on, of elevating that productivity, elevating the quality of work, elevating the confidence in work, and helping people protect their work-life balance, having them finish the day and them not being exhausted, giving them context because they have that experience of collaborating, having that co-collaborator that is Duet AI, right? And when we have that employee engagement elevated, that always is going to be tied to better customer satisfaction in some way, shape, or form, right? And then the last one, and I love this one, it's holding us accountable to continue to innovate the way that we work, right? The way that I work today on November 30th, 2023 is incredibly different than the way that I worked in February earlier this year. It's 100% different than how it worked when I was doing military work in 16, right? Technology does play a role in kind of holding us accountable to constantly reinvent the way that we work for the better. And I think Duet AI and I think the evolving roadmap is an incredible example of that, of technology's role in making sure that we are getting the most out of our people and our teams without kind of sacrificing, again, that employee experience. So being able to continue to embrace and take advantage of those innovative ways of working and all of those kind of 5 pillars together, you're seeing those benefits, right? You're seeing the qualitative and the quantitative benefits with this technology, with Duet AI and Google Workspace. So just kind of a framework and a mindset to think about when you're looking at this technology and you're looking at how it can become additive to your organization. And if you're an existing Workspace customer, I also love that key phrase, because usually when we think about embracing new technology, it's almost seen as disruptive, right? There's going to be, especially if we're going to evaluate. This is the rare case where it is completely additive to a platform that you're already using, right? And if you are trialing it and for whatever reason, say that you're going to move forward with maybe a subset of licenses or something like that, none of that work goes away, right? It is completely additive to an environment that you're already using today. It's something that is you can add on to cohorts of users or go wall to wall. And again, it's only going to make that experience better, right? And so that being said, we will talk about a specific experience. I want to bring in our customer who you met a little bit earlier, Nathan, the co-founder and CTO of codepath.org. Nathan, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me, Tony.
So glad that you were able to spend some time with us today. So first off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, about CodePath, and what y'all do?
Absolutely. So yeah, it's great to be here with everybody. I'm, as I mentioned, the co-founder, CTO of a 501(c) nonprofit called codepath.org. And what we do, I guess, in a nutshell, is we're trying to create the next generation of software engineers, CTOs, and engineering leaders. And we do that by focusing on low-income, underrepresented groups, and essentially bridging the gap over their entire college career as they try to get into top tech. So we work with about 10 to 12,000 students every year right now, on track to get to 100,000 students a year over the next few years. We work with hundreds of colleges and universities all across the US. And what we do is kind of multi-pronged, but we start with students very early on in their journey, and we help give them the roadmap to tech success. And then what we do is we help them directly get internships and jobs after they graduate. We provide career center support all the way from mentorship, review of their LinkedIn and their resumes, all the way through to technical interview prep classes that go really deep into how to, think about the mindset of problem solving that lets you get into tech and succeed in tech, all the way through to full stack practical courses that we offer directly at colleges and universities. So we teach everything from AI, cybersecurity, front end, back end, mobile, all the skills that students need and the real world portfolio projects that they need to build in order to succeed and get their foot in the door and then hopefully rise in the tech industry.
That is incredible, especially with, I think we're only going to see continued demand for talent across the board as it relates to tech. So something incredibly important. Really glad to see that y'all are doing that and see that you're doing it also in Workspace. That also is great. So on the Workspace topic specifically, as it relates to Duet AI, what are some of the early use cases for Duet AI in your organization?
Yeah, so I mean, just to share a little bit, I've been using Google Workspace, as I'm sure many of the folks here are, for many years. I mean, I've been using Workspace since we started CodePath, and I was using it in prior startups as well. It's a essential part of our now national remote organization. So I have employees all over the world. I have people from all the way from Portugal, Sweden, all the way through to almost half the states in the US. And so asynchronous work culture is built into the work that we do at CodePath. And I would say Google Workspace represents perhaps one of the most important tools that we use to collaborate asynchronously. So everything from, of course, Gmail for our emails, Google Docs, slides, all the way through to using Google Meet, the whole spectrum of that toolkit. And in September, I believe I was given access to the Duet AI suite. And so for me, I mean, just to kind of share, right, we were already using all of these tools. And I think I can speak for many of us here when I say that we're all very excited about the power of generative AI to supercharge the workflows of our team, of our students, of the world in a million different ways. And I think what's powerful about Duet and why I'm so excited about it is the fact that it brings the power of generative AI right into the tools that we're already using every single day. So whether it's Google Docs, as the demo showed, whether it's Gmail, whether it's slides, sheets, I'm already working in those every single day with my team, whether it be putting together job descriptions, blog posts, fundraising grants, strategy planning, the whole gamut. And so having access to these generative AI tools directly within those different products really just makes it a lot more accessible to the team. And I think it also just puts it right there in front of view, so you're more likely to use it. So it's been incredibly valuable for us, and I'd be happy to share specific examples of use cases and so forth. But we use it. I use it every day, and I expect that we'll be continuing to use it quite a bit more over the next few months.
Yeah, for sure. I think the embedded aspect of it, I think, is really important too. And this is shown through with a lot of the conversations that I've had with a lot of different organizations across a lot of different industries. And one of the first things that's come from even like a cybersecurity perspective was this realization that people are going to use something, right? So how do we make a decision org-wide that gives that Gen AI capability, but with full confidence around data security, data governance, right? And so being able to direct people into the tools that they're already using versus trying to find something outside on their own, that's a big factor as well that we've seen with a lot of organizations. So what you just mentioned, I think, has been a really, really common piece of feedback for a lot of the customers that we've had. And, looking forward, how do you see your organization relying on generative AI in the future? And how are you planning to continue to scale Duet AI across your organization?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to riff off of what you were saying, I completely agree. I think the accessibility is really powerful. The other piece, just to, I guess, add another thing I think is quite incredible about generative AI is that it becomes more and more powerful the more context and the more data it has about you, right? And I think one other powerful piece I just to call out about Duet, I think, and I see a lot of potential for, is, and I think was in the demos, is just the power of the ability for me to load in more and more and more data so that the Duet AI understands me, it understands my organization, it understands our mission, it understands our org structure, because it's able to have access to these selected documents. And so in some sense, generative AI is only as powerful as the data about me it has access to. And so I think that's just another thing, along with accessibility, that I'm quite excited about, in addition to security, is just the AI can build a more and more of a model of who I am and who my organization is, which allows me to write less in the prompt, but get more. So that's really powerful. And then going into your question about scale. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. We started this as a pilot where only a small number of us have access to Duet AI, because I wanted to see how people would use it. And so to start out, we really had it mostly within the engineering teams and also in our fundraising team. And so the existing usage for me signals that over time, over the next few months, as I alluded to, we want to expand this to more and more of our organization, everything from marketing to programs to career center. So, we plan to bring this into kind of a full scale rollout over the next 3 to 6 months on the team. And I think that the reason we want to do that is I want to gradually, with each department, make sure that not only am I giving them access to the tools, but that I'm spending time thoughtfully understanding how they can best use that to supercharge their work. And so, for example, with fundraising, we already now have our grant writers and our proposal writers using Duet AI extensively. For our recruiting team, we have them using it extensively for the reasons I mentioned, JDs, blog posts, things like that. But I think there's a tremendous opportunity for every organization, and I'm very excited about leading the charge in the nonprofit space, to ask yourself, how do you 10x your team? How do you create that supercharge effect? But how do you personalize it to the department? And so I think you have to be really thoughtful about that, because I think you have to give them access to the tooling, and then you have to also help people understand how to use it to best effect, because I think it's an incredibly powerful technology. So yeah, whether it's marketing and growth, communicating with our students, whether it's our support team talking to students during the classes, whether it is our career center doing career coaching, I think there's going to be an emerging and more functionality that really springs to life as a result of them having access to Duet and then also understanding how to use that within their work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that approach of kind of going department by department, because with it being such a new technology, I think there's such a big emphasis on understanding your people, understanding how they're using the platform today, and really tying it to, this is how you're going to see benefit from it. So I think the learning and development aspect of Duet activation is critically important. It's something our customer success and our partner organizations have really leaned into, in being able to ensure that people are going to kind of run headfirst and get the most out of it. Because I think with any technology, you're always going to have your adoption curve. You're going to have people they're always the power users. They're always excited about something new. They're going to put it through its paces. Then you've got the middle part of the curve, and then you've got the backside of it where people might be lagging into it. So kind of taking that departmental approach allows you to make it very real for those people and those teams. So I love that you're taking that approach with your plan to expand it across codepath.org. Anything that you'd like to add before we wrap up our conversation today?
No, I think that about covers it. But yeah, I just want to share, just a last thing about us is, we only are made possible by the volunteers and the folks that work with us. We do see the nonprofit as sort of a national movement. So if anyone is interested in learning more about CodePath or volunteering, supporting students in their journey into tech, definitely check out our site. And I'm also tremendously excited about the future of AI. So very happy to be here with you all today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today, Nathan. Really appreciate it. Look forward to chatting soon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right. So resources are incredibly important in terms of being able to get the most out of this technology, right? And so again, I mentioned this earlier in today's session. Our team has been incredibly hard at work and putting together more and more assets to help people understand how to get the most out of the platform as it relates to Duet AI. On November 17th, we launched our latest learning path in Cloud Skills Boost, Duet AI in Google Workspace, an introduction learning path. So highly recommend you checking that out. Obviously, become a part of the Google Workspace community. We are always looking for feedback. One of the things that we always talk about is feedback is absolutely a gift. So please provide us feedback. And then please also be aware of our upcoming events. December 6th, accelerate your generative AI readiness with APIs and integrations, as well as AppSheet office hours, create and use AI-powered apps using natural language with Duet AI. So we are coming up to the top of the hour. I know for an absolute fact we are not going to be able to get through all the questions because y'all asked a ton of great ones. So we're going to try to get through as many of these as possible before Donato and I have to go run and have a very similar conversation with someone else. But we'll go ahead and start with this first one. Is there a way to control the deployment of Duet AI to manage the rollout or access to certain users? The answer is absolutely yes. So Duet AI is something that, by all means, you're absolutely more than able to roll it out to your entire organization, but you can also choose which users you want to have access to the Duet AI Enterprise add-on. So you do have the granularity of picking and choosing which users you would like to grant that access to as it relates to a trial, as it relates to a full-blown rollout. And we have seen that be the case with a lot of organizations, starting with specific departments, similar to what Nathan had mentioned in terms of how they rolled it out at codepath.org. So that answer is yes. So moving on to another one, how may I integrate Duet AI into our workflows? Is there a way to create rules on how to help? So this one, I think, also goes back to something that Nathan had mentioned in terms of his strategy of rolling out. The platform is capable of doing a lot of different things integrated across Workspace. And I would say really integrating it into the workflows depends a lot on the teams that are going to be using the platform and how they're working today on a daily basis today. What are those high volume use cases that they're doing as it relates to communication, as it relates to written words and docs, long form, short form, project planning and sheets, putting together content within slides, understanding what those workflows look like, and being able to distill that into meaningful prompt design. One of the other things to think about, especially in seeing Donato's demo, is that is obviously going to evolve as the roadmap evolves. A lot of questions have come in around capabilities that we're seeing, things as it relates to language support. So I saw Spanish get mentioned. I saw Polish get mentioned. I also saw questions around things like side panel. When is that coming? It is something that we are working on. I'm going to direct you all to Google Cloud Community to access our NDA roadmap to get details on that. So if you do want to know the exact timing, that is the place to go to be able to access any details around the release dates and cycles for those upcoming features. What are the potential risk factors or security best practices to keep in mind with Duet AI regarding data privacy? So we covered this early on. First and foremost, your data is your data is your data. We are not training models with your prompts. Everything is session specific. Everything is going to be based on whatever the user has access to in the workspace environment. So right now, contextually speaking, with the launch features, the document that a user is in, the email thread that a user is in, the slide deck, the sheet, right? As it becomes more context aware, that again is going to be predicated based off of the security environment that you've already pre-established as it relates to sharing permissions, trust rules, data loss prevention, etc. So you are going to essentially be able to manage security almost the same way that you're already managing it today with across the workspace environment. But as it relates to data privacy in general, we're not training models, we're not retaining prompts, we're not generating embeddings. All of that is very, very clear within how we're doing data privacy with the organization. All right, how are we doing on time? I believe we're actually running over, which means I am late for my next meeting. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. I'm looking for a head nod from someone if we can go ahead and skip forward. Okay, perfect. So I really appreciate everyone's time today, spending time with us. You all asked a lot of great questions that we may not have gotten into. So please continue to reach out to us, communicate with your workspace partner, communicate with your workspace representative on the Google side around Duet AI, how we can help you answer any additional questions with more depth, set up a conversation, set up a tailored demo, talk about what engaging with a trial looks like. But first and foremost, we are here to help. Again, thank you for spending so much time today. Thank you for Donato and his wonderful demo. And thank you to Nathan for joining us today. And thank you for sitting in and coming into the session with us. Have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.